I want to ask you about China. The Chinese President Xi said to his Philippines counterpart earlier today that regional security cannot be achieved by strengthening military alliance. Do you think this is an attempt to divide the United States from a U.S. ally while the Biden administration is focusing on Russia?
Well, without speaking to that particular comment, we have seen the Chinese repeatedly try to divide the United States from our allies. We've seen their coercive and aggressive tactics to bully neighbors, including some of our allies, to come around to their way of thinking about their national security, what they believe their national security interests are in the region. 5 of our 7 treaty alliances are in the Pacific, the Indo-Pacific region. We take each one of them seriously, and we have dozens more allies, dozens more partners in the region that we continue to talk with. And I think it's fairly obvious when you see the Chinese behave this way, they're concerned about our network of alliances and partnerships. As you've heard Secretary Austin say, that's a real strategic advantage that the United States has in the region, are these alliances and these partnerships. And the Chinese have nothing like that. They don't have a lot of friends. They don't have a lot of people they can draw upon for that kind of support. And when you hear the Secretary talk about things like integrated deterrence, he's talking a lot about U.S. capabilities, but he's also talking about how we combine our capabilities in an integrated fashion with those of our allies and partners. Again, China has nothing to compare to that and cannot rely on that same kind of a network.
Just a quick follow-up. Japan will hold the first 2+2 meeting with the Philippines tomorrow. So what role do you expect Japan to play to maintain the rule-based order in the South China Sea?
I won't get ahead of a 2+2 between those two sovereign nation states. We certainly respect both of them as allies, and they both are of ours. But I'll let them speak for their agenda and what they're trying to get out of this discussion. I'm sure it'll be fruitful. I'm sure it'll be productive. I'm sure it'll be constructive to improving mutual security needs in the Indo-Pacific.
Just to follow up to Ruo's question, is the Secretary disappointed that the U.S. Navy is not planning to build a lot more ships to keep up with China? China's shipbuilding program is on a linear trajectory, and the U.S. Navy shipbuilding trajectory is very flat. Does that concern him?
I mean, I don't know that I can approve upon the Secretary's own words on this yesterday, but he clearly got an opportunity to speak to shipbuilding yesterday at the hearing in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and then again on Tuesday with the House Armed Services Committee. I would just tell you that the truncated version is the Secretary is very comfortable with the shipbuilding requests that we are making for 2023, which includes 9 new battle force ships, and he's much more concerned about capability and the proper mix of modern capabilities in the naval force than he is just about numbers. Numbers have a quality all their own. Clearly he understands that, but his concern is making sure that as we build more ships and bring ships into the fleet, that they're the right mix of capabilities, the most advanced that we can put to sea.
Does he think that the Freedom class littoral combat ships was a complete waste? You're about to scrap all these warships that were built just a few years ago, and now the Navy's getting rid of them.
No, you've heard him talk about the littoral combat ship, and in fact, you heard him talk about this in the hearing. I mean, they served a purpose, and some of them still do serve a purpose, and will serve a purpose going forward over the course of the fiscal year defense plan. But when you look at the National Defense Strategy, and you look at the budget which supports that strategy, and that strategy is focused on the pacing challenge of China and the acute threat of Russia, what we are working with the Navy on and support the Navy's efforts to develop new classes of ships, ships with more capability than the LCS has for the kinds of fights that we think we might be in the future.